Next, I want you to hear from a student who participated in the very first CGI University meeting in March. We brought more than 600 students from across the United States and 14 other nations to Tulane University in New Orleans to do exactly what we do at the annual CGI meeting, to make commitments to take action on their campuses, around their communities, and in several cases on other continents. Lizzy DuPont is here from the University of Texas at Austin to tell us about her commitment. Lizzy, where are you? Over here, I think. Yes.
Thanks for having me here. My name is Lizzy DuPont. I'm a student at the University of Texas at Austin, and my commitment to action is called the Mali Signs Project. Basically, the goal of the project is to establish a video exchange program between students who are deaf in Austin, Texas, and Bamako, Mali, in West Africa. The purpose of the videos is to get these students talking about public health issues that affect them in their communities, or just public health issues that they're interested in. And it also serves a purpose to increase a social network for an often marginalized community. So how I got involved was I studied abroad in Mali last fall, and I did my research paper on the development needs of the deaf education system in Bamako. So I lived in the school for the deaf, and I basically observed classes and spent time with students and their families and studied the local sign language. Now the good news is that the sign language taught in schools is a derivative of American Sign Language, so that's how this project's going to work. But one of the things that I learned while I was there is that deaf students, especially when they have a huge communication barrier between them and their families or their health providers or even often their teachers, they have trouble learning about how to lead healthy lives and protect themselves from things that are very preventable. So a lot of students I found were dealing with health problems that were easily preventable, easily treatable. So when I got back to Austin, I really wanted to do something to help, and I found this organization called UT for READ, UT for Rural Enhancement Through Education and Design, and I started the Mali Signs Project. Now this is a really big deal because there are over 200,000 deaf individuals in Mali. That's 2% of the population, and there are only 5 schools for the deaf. The first school was established in 1993, and so as you can imagine, there are a lot of priorities that need to be met, and they can't all be addressed at once. So health education, I found, was not one of the next priorities on the list of things to do among teaching teachers how to learn sign language and getting students to these schools in the first place. So what I really hope to accomplish with this project is to promote health awareness, not only for students in Bamako, but also the students in Austin, and increase this social network that's really going to benefit all the communities. So far, we have affiliated with a couple of professors at the university in the American Sign Language and Linguistics Department, as well as an advisor in services for students with disabilities. We're currently speaking with some faculty at Texas School for the Deaf, and I know we have the support of teachers at l'École Déficient Auditif, where I worked in Bamako, so hopefully we'll be getting the high school students involved soon. So that's the project. I really want to thank everyone here for the commitments y'all have made. It's been amazing to hear what you're doing, and the Clinton Global Initiative for bringing us all together, because I really think that it's what we take away from events like this that, drives us and fuels us when, fighting the good fight gets hard. So thanks for creating this opportunity, and thanks you for having me here.
Wow. I'm not too worried about the future, are you? I would like to say one thing about Lizzy's project as a representative effort that we all to consider. I believe the United States has become a far more decent place in the last 35 years because of our commitment to empowerment of people with disabilities. I believe that a lot of developing countries are retarding their own potential because they do not have the capacity to empower their people with disabilities. And so I think that in addition to the incredibly compelling personal nature of this commitment, it should remind us that there are, because of technological advances, relatively low-cost, high-impact ways that those of us in the developed world could help to empower people in the developing world to get beyond their disabilities to make a contribution to their countries. And that is what I consider to be the enormous larger significance of this, quite apart from its compelling moral and personal power. You just heard her say that 2% of the population was deaf. And I saw you, Maurice, raise your hand. It's hard to imagine. But there are lots of developing countries where, because of various conditions, the incidence of specific disabilities are far higher than you would imagine them to be, but where people with fine minds and stout hearts could have good lives if they had the kind of services that Lizzy's project is providing. So I ask you to think about that, because in these countries with large numbers of disabled people, they will either be tragic stories and drags on the potential of the country, or a part of that country's future. And it would be nice to see more and more of these nations avoid the trajectory that we had in the United States and much of the rest of the world, where people were basically segregated and set off for a century or more before we woke up, not only to our moral obligations, but to our social blindness in not trying to empower people. So this is a remarkable thing, and I thank you very much, and I wish you well.